The mayor of Washington, D.C. publicly thanks Donald Trump and admits that his federal takeover of the city has been an overwhelming, massive success, citing reductions in crime that are so significant you would think they were made up. You would think that this resounding success that is saving people's lives and improving their peace of mind would prompt all these Democrat governors and mayors to call up Donald Trump and ask him to come help save their city next. But alas, the official strategy recommendation coming from the Democrat Party is to avoid talking about crime, to pretend that it doesn't exist, to ignore it completely, because actually it's not an issue that Americans really care about. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel, but let's hear from the mayor of DC praise Donald Trump for essentially fixing their crime problem.
We greatly appreciate the surge of officers that enhance what MPD has been able to do in this city. The most significant thing that we are highlighting today is the area of crime that was most troubling for us in 2023. Now, we have driven it down over the last years, but I'm going to get my glasses so I can make sure I can see it correctly. But for carjackings, the difference between this period, this 20-day period of this federal surge and last year represents a 87% reduction in carjackings in Washington, D.C. We know that when carjackings go down, when the use of gun goes down, when homicide or robbery go down, neighborhoods feel safer and are safer. So this surge has been important to us for that reason.
So the mayor of DC has been playing both sides of the fence, simultaneously thanking and praising Donald Trump because she knows crime's a significant issue in Washington, D.C., and she'll gladly take all the help she can get, but also condemning Donald Trump because she is the mayor of an extremely liberal city, so she can't act too giddy and cheerful that Donald Trump is doing something helpful and positive. So that's why in the same clip, I didn't show it, but she condemns masked ICE agents causing distrust within the community. Because as a high-profile Democrat politician, she must toe the party's Trump deranged line. So that means if you're going to praise him for something, which obviously they try to avoid doing at all costs, you also have to be upset about something. But the Democrat establishment's knee-jerk reaction to resisting any kind of assistance from Donald Trump, even on the most fundamental responsibilities of government, which is public safety, is going to be an extremely losing issue for the already historically unpopular Democrats, who have instinctively been taking the losing 20 side of every issue ever since Donald Trump got inaugurated. And this newest polling shows that they are doing it yet again, as 81% of Americans say that crime in big cities is a major problem. Take a look.
Here in DC, though, overall, there's been a 19% decrease in burglary, 33% decrease in homicide, 42% decrease in assaults with a dangerous weapon, and a 44% decrease in robbery. And when it comes to handling crime, overall, nationwide, the president has a 53% approval rating. Looking more broadly at all major cities beyond D.C., 81% in an AP poll are saying they think crime is a major problem in large cities. 18% say a minor problem. Just 1% say not a problem at all.
So this isn't even a partisan issue. It's just a common sense issue. You don't need polling to tell you that a majority of Americans think that crime is a problem and would prefer for their politicians to put their personal grievances with Donald Trump to the side and actually fix it. But I always remind people that despite the Democrat Party being historically unpopular, they're still riding that 19% approval rating. And what did that polling reveal? That 18% say that crime is a minor problem and 1% say that it's not a problem at all. There's your 19%. I saw a post on X that described this Trump deranged phenomenon. It was this white lady in Chicago telling her story about how last year she was carjacked and in the process the assailants broke her arm. And this horrible attack left her traumatized, rightfully so. and afraid and scared to roam around her city. But she concludes, despite the physical and emotional trauma, she still doesn't want Donald Trump sending in the National Guard to Chicago. Some, myself included, might call that a mental disorder. But more so, it exposes the pretentious belief held by these white liberals. They've declared they would rather experience physical criminal violence and emotional trauma over Donald Trump trying to ensure that this doesn't happen to her ever again and she can go back to enjoying her city. And then they try to impose this mentally ill worldview on the rest of the residents of their city who aren't ideologically brainwashed and see the success happening in Washington, D.C., and want that same kind of benefit to come to their city. But the Democrat Party is having their summer camp in Minneapolis or Little Somalia right now, where they're discussing plans and strategy on how to regain favorability with the American people. And you know what their master plan is? Ignore the polls, ignore common sense, ignore talking about crime at all, because Americans don't really care about that stuff.
Issues voters care about. Where does Trump go? Migrant crime, carjackings, the really lurid, awful stuff that is a crazy, crazy visual. Don't take the bait, because most Americans are more worried about how are we going to address mental health issues, the visible homelessness that we see on streets, and how do we deal with mental health and other issues that drive the sort of random incidents that scare all of us. That's what you should be talking about. That's where you should be focused. Don't take the bait in talking about migrant crime or carjackings or the things that actually don't matter to that many Americans. And then go to the...
Okay, if I look any different, it's because I had to stop the recording and take my baby to her 2-month doctor checkup, so show some love and hit the like button for daddy duties. But now to that clip. It seems the root cause of the Democrat Party's historically low approval rating and their egregiously out-of-touch way of thinking stems from a fundamental misunderstanding of the purpose of government. The Democrat philosophy is government exists to be like the Oprah show, free stuff for everybody, just throw it out there. Republicans believe the responsibility of government is to provide safety and security to the citizens and economic policies that lead to a strong private sector that employs people with good paying jobs and gives them the dignity of self-sufficiency, independence, and liberty. And it's funny because Democrats will say they stand for the disenfranchised, the downtrodden, the poorest, the most vulnerable. They have a soft on crime stance because they believe that crime is a result of poverty, desperate people just trying to make it, so they don't want to criminalize poverty. But their lack of critical thinking skills doesn't let them see the reality, which is if crime is not addressed and you let crime run rampant in communities, all of the other things they beg for that will improve these people's lives will never come to these areas. They say there needs to be more investment in these communities, more good employment opportunities. But if they're not tough on crime and address the crime problem, what's the incentive for any business or any investor to pour their capital into this area? They complain that inner cities are food deserts. Well, it's not because these businesses aren't happy to take their money. It's because it isn't economically viable to sustain your business in a high crime area. Grocery stores aren't going to open in the hood if every time they do, they get plundered until it eventually closes. No one wants to open up a business in a location where they might get robbed and mugged walking to their car. All the economic investment Democrats say would uplift these people won't materialize unless crime is solved first. So they're ultimately doing a disservice to these people by having this weak, soft on crime stance. You're not just making these areas more dangerous for the law-abiding citizens, but you're stripping them of the opportunity to have crucial services provided to them within a close proximity. But unlike the crazy Trump deranged lady from Chicago that welcomes more carjackings and broken bones, here's a reporter who lives in Washington, D.C. and got robbed and pistol whipped, thanking Donald Trump for taking this stance to crack down on crime.
So more than 2 years ago, it was a Saturday morning in broad daylight. I was on my way to work, and a young man with a black ski mask pointed a gun at my face and threatened me to hand over my phone, my wallet, my laptop, and everything else. And when I refused, he used the butt of his handgun to strike me across the face, in the cheek, or what some people call pistol whip me, before running away. And that has deeply traumatized myself and my family. Ever since, I've never dared to walk in the street of DC at night, ever. and my family was extremely worried. So, Mr. President, thank you so much for what you're doing right now, because
being honest.
Now, I don't know this woman or what political affiliation she has, but statistical probabilities would tell me that she's probably more left-leaning. But she's a regular, normal person, and she would much rather enjoy the safety and security of being able to walk around the streets of her city than enduring more violent crime because she doesn't like Donald Trump because he says mean stuff. And the Democrats are essentially gambling the rest of their relevancy on this extremely losing issue, falsely assuming that everybody is just like them and obsesses over Donald Trump from the time they wake up to the time they go to sleep. But Trump's crackdown on crime can only go as far as the justice system within these cities will allow. And unfortunately, just because you're arresting more people doesn't mean that more people are going to be going to jail. DC is notorious for having some of the most soft on crime policies in the nation. They're so insane, they were trying to charge violent offenders between the ages of 18 and 25 as minors, giving them juvenile sentences for carjackings and murders, giving 16, 17-year-olds charged with attempted murder simple probation. And that's why you have a situation like this. A week ago, a man went viral for throwing a Subway sandwich at a National Guard in a violent manner. And just today, a DC grand jury decided not to prosecute him for assault. Take a look.
One of the 1,178 arrests so far here in Washington during the federal crime crackdown was the man who threw a sub sandwich at a federal law enforcement officer. You can see the video here on your screen. And we just learned this man is not going to be indicted. A grand jury refused to indict him here in Washington. The U.S. Attorney's Office is investigating how that information already leaked out of a grand jury room, but it still doesn't seem like he's going to face punishment beyond losing his job at the Justice Department.
Now, call me a right-wing nut job, but I don't think there should be any scenario where a federal officer is assaulted, even if it's with a sandwich where the person does not get criminally prosecuted. Willingly choosing not to enforce the law incentivizes criminals to commit crimes. Who would have thunk? And no person should feel comfortable enough to walk up and get into the face of a federal officer and then violently throw something at them. In any rational, self-respecting society, they would make an example out of this person. But you can't force people to have common sense. And unfortunately, the long-term benefit of what is a very successful federal intervention is still up in the air, because if the DC courts refuse to actually prosecute the crime, then all the deterrence in the world won't matter, because one day the National Guard will leave and all the arrests will be meaningless. And for the businesses that still decide to operate in crime-ridden cities, they have to take such extreme measures, implement such caution in order to sustainably operate, that law-abiding citizens are forced to feel like criminals anytime they want to patronize these businesses. For the last clip, let me show you this Dunkin' Donuts in Chicago that is in such a high violent crime area that they have bulletproof glass and other security measures just so people can get some donuts. Take a look.
Look how they taking money at Dunkin' Donuts, y'all. Like, come on, man. What is this?
It's crazy.
Straight bulletproof glass through the whole thing, man. I mean, you can't even breathe on these people. Look how sealed this is. This is a professional seal. Like, you can't even talk to these people barely. Appreciate you, man. Getting up every day and seeing something like this, bro, that do something to your mental up here. It tell you, like, this how you feed animals in a zoo, gang. Like, that's pretty much what it's telling your mentality. Like, I did say I don't trust you. You feel what I'm saying? At what point do we be like, we tired of getting treated like animals, tired of getting treated like this? Like, bro, like, you telling me I can't even hand you my money, gang?
And this is the inevitable result of soft on crime policies. Either the businesses decide not even to open and operate in these areas, or if they do, They have to assume that every person is a violent criminal threat and take such drastic precautions to protect themselves that it strips away the dignity of any person who wants to patronize a business. This is the way they feed animals in a zoo, and regular people are forced to face the humiliation of this caution simply because the politicians in these cities think that being tough on crime is mean, it's racist, it's oppressive, it's kicking people while they're down. They never prioritize the consideration of hardworking, law-abiding citizens. Their victim hierarchy philosophy forces them to show the most compassion and understanding to the lowest on the totem pole. And because they believe crime is a result of unfortunate circumstances, they end up showing the most sympathy to criminals. And if criminals aren't disincentivized from committing crime, guess what? They commit more crime. And that just perpetuates the economic and financial issues that are plaguing the communities they want to help. But again, all of this could easily be solved with common sense. It's clearly working in Washington, D.C., and that's why the video I posted yesterday of CNN doing street interviews in Chicago, they got their entire worldview shattered when the residents told them, yes, we want the National Guard. But the Democrats are choosing to die on their hill of Trump derangement and are refusing to cooperate with the president who wants to help his citizens because they are hell-bent on trying to prevent the Republicans and Donald Trump from having anything positive to run on in the 2026 midterms. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Turn on those notification bells so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.